Our first guest, Belén, is chair of the Sareb Bank, which you probably know what that is, but I'll give a brief description. It's a bank that was brought in to boost the Spanish economy by taking bad assets off of bank sheets, basically, and putting government bonds on their sheets so that credit would be available to the country and boost the economy. It's called the Bad Bank. Its mission is basically suicidal. It's supposed to go out of business in, 2027. It was forced on the country basically because of, in return for European Union assistance. It doesn't sound like the kind of job anybody would want. Why did you take this job?
I guess I was offered the job, and I guess I accepted because of two reasons. One is, at that time, Spain was going through a very, very difficult time. We were risking becoming a full program country, which is really tough, and it lasts long. So I had the opportunity to help my country, and I thought that was the right thing to do. So that was the first reason. And the second reason is that I thought that Sareb and myself were a good match because I have spent half of my professional life working for the public sector and the other half working for the private sector. And this is a project that involves both sides of the economy. We have banks, the healthy banks as our shareholders, but we also have the resolution authority as a shareholder. So it's something in between. We have one foot on the private sector and the other one on the public sector. And I thought that I could understand both worlds.
So can you describe, you started off as basically a paragraph in a law. Can you describe those early days and starting this from scratch? Was there a model for what you were doing?
I would need like 2 days to explain, but I'll try to be brief. It was amazing because we had to do everything. I started late November 2012 looking for offices myself. We didn't have an office. Yeah, we didn't have an office. And as we usually say there, the whole company in December 2012, we fit in a cab.
Yeah.
There were only 4 of us. And so we had to think of everything, the office, the organization, the structure, the equity, the whole thing, and the processes. And it was an incredible time. It just, to put an example, we had the first board meeting at 2 in the night, in the morning. Because shareholders had just signed their agreements, and I thought that when you have a long, long list of problems that you have to solve, you'd better close some of them. Right. They had their agreement, they had signed, and I thought we should create right now the governance structure, and so get board members know each other, create the committees, so close that thing and move on the following day.
So what was your strategy you've got these bad assets, and you've got a weak economy. What was your strategy to maximize the value?
But to begin with, there are no good or bad assets. It depends on the price. That's the key thing. So the right price makes a good asset.
Right.
But the thing was, we had to do a few things at the same time. We had to build the plane while flying. So we had to start right very early in 2013 because there was this perception, and I think that was right, mainly from international investors that Sareb had to set the floor on the price of assets. And if we didn't move, nobody would move. So there was this pressure from the market inside Spain and outside Spain that we had to begin.
Yeah.
Get moving, the sooner the better. And we have a financial structure that is also very demanding, so we had to sell. We need to sell, that's our goal. So the thing, you have to combine the speed with an ultimate goal to maximize the value of the balance sheet. So it's a very difficult combination. It's sort of an art, if you want. Yeah. Understanding the market each and every time you close a deal, and of course, creating processes whereby you have competition, so you get the highest possible price on that asset at that time.
And so in that kind of a setting, there are investors who smell blood, and it sounds like the biggest sharks in the water were American hedge funds. Describe that.
Of course, when we were born, the market was not there, simply not there. So for some years, you could not see any big deal close in Spain in the real estate business. And when a market is suffering a credit crunch, which was the case, usually the first ones coming in are the hedge funds, because they have the riskier approach. And so of course, their goal is always to maximize their profit, and my goal is to maximize my price.
Right.
So one of the key things for us was, one, set processes whereby we maximize the price. Second, set processes where we find a market price, which means competition. So we had to make them compete among themselves to set the right price. Right. Otherwise, if we had gone, and that's a usual thing you find in many other markets, if you talk to asset management companies throughout the world, they usually, all of them, use competition processes, because otherwise you're always, if it's only a bilateral deal, then you're always on a weak position.
Right. So you had to stand up to them and say no? Just describe that, what that was like.
No, the thing is, we had to really, right from the beginning, we understood that we had to set high standards. The thing is, you need to be a respected agent in the market. And to be respected, you need to fulfill a list of conditions. You need to understand the market. You need to set your own processes, make them clear, make them visible, and help others understand how you think you should be dealing with your assets.
Right.
And so in a way, you need to earn your own space.
Yeah.
Because when you are born in a weak position, in a difficult situation in your country, and you come from an agreement between authorities, Spanish and European, I mean, you run the risk of others thinking that you don't understand your market.
Right.
And
so you had to prove that you weren't weak.
Exactly. That we understood it.
Yeah.
And that we were as many other markets.
Right.
So you set the rules, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to, you need to be respected in any market.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be there for 15 years. It's not closing one deal or two deals. It's closing, a long number of, a large number of deals. And if you want to close the number 100, a 100 deal, you'd better be, respectful and follow very clear rules.
So which hedge funds were the most difficult to deal with?
I think I wouldn't pick one of them, but they are our clients. Yeah. So it's our investor base, and I think I've come to understand their own position, and it's nothing personal. It's just that they maximize their profit. So they need to explain to their own investor base why are they investing where, and they need to to make quite a high return in a short period of time. So the thing is, you need to understand the reasons and the reasoning and the whys of the other side of the table.
Yeah.
It's not you don't have to antagonize them.
Right.
They are your partners.
Right. So you didn't
now and again.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and they come to see, so how do you work?
Yeah.
So what's your name? Where do you come from?
Yeah.
So they come, you're new in the market, you're a new agent, they don't really understand, they don't know what you are.
You're a woman in an arena where there aren't a lot of women in Spain,
Well, in Spain, I would say in the financial world, there are not that many women all over Europe. Yeah. That doesn't make things easy.
And your position, it's an interesting position because even though it's a business position, it's sort of a political job. And you've come under a lot of criticism in the press. Can you describe that and how you've had to stand up to it?
Of course, when you chair a company which is called Bad Bank, that's not the best possible marketing strategy. And to begin with, it's not a bank. we don't have a banking license. It's an asset management company. But of course, you know, academics talk about bad banks, and so you're born with the wrong name to begin with. You are born to solve the problem created by others. In our case, we had to solve the problems, you know, the effects of the bubble in the Spanish economy and the Spanish financial institutions in particular. So you are born in the middle of debates that are not your own, but you have to live with them. One is a debate that you find, you know, all over the world, which is should banks be supported by taxpayers? Shouldn't they? Why? When? How? For how long? That sort of a debate.
Similar debate we had in the US.
Yeah,
yes.
And you find that here in the UK and all over Europe. There's this debate going on should and how.
Right.
And, you know, and that's one debate. We were the outcome of that.
Right.
So in a way, we are the child of that operation.
Yeah.
So in a way, you get questions on, I mean, should banks be supported or things like that, although it's not really our business.
Right.
So we are just the outcome. And there's this second debate, which is also, you find that all over the Western world, I guess, which is the social housing. I mean, we are a 50 billion euros asset company. Most of it is real estate related. It's 80% is financial assets, 20% real estate assets. So we were born with loads of real estate. And there's this debate on social housing and whether I mean, how banks should behave when they have, when a client has a problem paying back his or her mortgage. And so we don't have mortgages.
Right.
That's out of our balance sheet. But sometimes people tend to think that you are a bank and hence you have mortgages and hence you have evictions. So we were born in the middle of two debates that are not really ours, but we live there. And of course, the social housing debate is a tough one, and it's a difficult one, and it's very delicate.
Yeah. And you've sort of spent your career staying out of the public eye. Now you're in the public eye, and some of the criticism's been personal in some ways. And what's the biggest lesson you've learned from how to cope with that?
That's true that I was not used to being in the center of the public eye. And you know, like 1 month ago, there was one day, it was a Sunday, without any news on Sareb, on any paper. Right. It was one day, it was like, wow, great. So you get used to it. Every day you read a lot of things, and all of a sudden you become a well-known person. So of course everybody talks about you, or for good or worse. So what you need to understand, I think, is that one, you have to accept criticism. It does exist. Whether you know it or not, it does exist. Yeah. So even if you are not under the public eye, you will be criticized. So it's just a fact of life. The second thing is that you need to really understand what needs to be done in your business and go for it. Because sometimes you get criticized because of you know, misinformation or a short-term perspective or things like that. So you need to really understand what you need to do and go for it. Right. And then you sleep well.
Right. So I'd like to bring in the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand while I ask this question. You've had a chance to basically lift up the hood on the Spanish economy and see what's there, the good, the bad, the ugly. Where do things stand now? What's your prognosis?
I think that things have changed dramatically. I would say in late 2012, as I said, we were facing a very, very complex situation. We were risking, becoming something else, and I think that has changed dramatically. Of course, we have usual contact with investors, and with all types of investors. Of course, they come. It's mainly the ones interested in real estate or financial assets or ABS, but of course, we get to know investors that are thinking of different things. So are looking at the Spanish economy with a broader perspective, and what you hear and what you feel is quite a different situation. But of course, Europe is not out of the woods. So the thing is, in Europe as a whole, we all need growth. We all need employment creation. Right. And we have, you know, a very, very high unemployment rate. Yeah. So, and we're part of that. Right. And I think that it's not only Spanish, it's a European thing. And so I think that things look much better. We are, if you look at, you know, at macro projections, at the pace of employment or unemployment, how there are many deals being closed in Spain right now in many different areas. It's not only real estate, but you find, you know, there are a number of listed public companies that are being, you know, invested in. So things look quite very different. I would say that the direction has changed. We were going downwards. That's not the case anymore. Mm-hmm. But of course, there's a European thing yeah, this growth.
We have time for one question, one or two back there. Yes.
Belén, you were talking about youth unemployment. Would you say this is a kind of lost generation in Spain? And what kind of problems does it cause for these people and for your country?
50% unemployment?
Yeah, it is. I mean, unemployment is a heavy weight for any society, I would say. And it's one of the key problems, I think, that we need to solve and face. Is it a lost generation? I wouldn't go that far. You know, there's this debate in Spain. There's a number of young people leaving Spain, going to work abroad. From my point of view, that is not a negative thing. That will help Spain a lot because it will help our society open up. We need to speak more languages. We need to travel much more than we do. We need to understand other cultures. Spain has gone for decades through a closed situation, and you can feel it. So I think that it's a good thing. I have always envied the Dutch. You go through the world, and anywhere you go, you will find a Dutch there. There are not that many, and they are working there. It's not as tourists, and I always found that great because it widens your horizons. It helps a lot personally and for your society as a whole. I think that's a great thing.
And are those young people...
You need to travel. You need to go abroad and...
But what if they go abroad and they don't come back? I mean, is there a sense that they're coming back?
I'm sure that some of them will come. That's usually the case.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not... I guess you all know that. This is not a world where you just pick up one job, right, one city, and you stay there forever. Right. That's not how we are anymore. So this thing of I live in Madrid and that will be forever, I live in London, that will be... I think that we're in a global world, and the thing is move on. Right. And that means also understand and travel. It's not only, just go there and spend 2 days or as a tourist. You really, I think that societies should and must be open.
That's fascinating. So Spain's problem is that it needs to open up to the world and needs to be more...
Economically it has,
yeah.
But I think that in a way, I think that this new generation living will help a lot.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much. This has been terrific.